I'm Annie Censullo. I'm the Credentialing Specialist for the Bureau of Child Development and Head Start Collaboration. In the PowerPoint, you will see my contact info. I think it's more towards the end, but I really am here to help you all through this process. I know it can be, I don't know who's been credentialed or who never has been, but with Caitlin's support, my support, that's our goal, to get you all credentialed, and we're here to help. So I'm going to start my presentation. And can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen, Caitlin?
I can, yep.
Okay, perfect. While I'm presenting, I am just going to shut off my camera.
I do the same thing. I have a hard time looking at my own face when I'm talking.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's just because sometimes I get close. I'm working with one screen right now, so it's a little bit easier. Okay, let's make it.
You can ignore that chat, Annie. I just put the links to the trainings that are coming up in the next couple of weeks in there. So
perfect. Thank you, Caitlin. Okay, so we can start the presentation. So here's the agenda, what we'll be working on today. What is a credential? Why get credentialed? We'll talk about the guidebook, the lattices and how they're broken down, how to apply, how to complete a paper application, and how to submit the application. So what is the early childhood credential? It is just simply documentation of everything that you guys probably already have. It's, your education, experience, professional development, and professional activities in the early childhood field. And then let's see, what are the benefits of getting credentialed? So I always say, first and foremost, I would do it for you. It highlights all of your hard work and dedication to the field. It's also a great display to families in your program and the community of your commitment. And it's great for employers, current and future. So I like to say it's great for current because you can actually had a provider ask me today, they'd like 2 copies because they want to hang one in their lobby of their center, and then obviously one for the applicants who are getting credentialed. And it's great for future. It's great for your resume. And I feel like too, directors can put it in tour folders for their brochures on their websites, just saying that our teachers are credentialed, or when they're going around introducing you, so-and-so Annie, she's an early childhood teacher 3. So it kind of just really opens up and lets people know that you are committed to the field and you're serious about elevating to that next level. This is an example of what the credential would look like. And this is a scan. I mean, there would be signatures at the bottom. I kind of just made this quickly last month. So because some people had asked me, they're like, oh, what does a credential look like? So this is just a quick certificate with your name. There's all different titles, all different levels. So they don't all have, 3 stickers, just depending where you fall. So this is the Early Childhood Professional Guidebook. This is online, and I would highly, 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 I think everyone should read it. And I feel like it's such a great guide. There's so many tips and there's so many great resources, because I think some of this can be a little confusing if you don't maybe first look at the guidebook first. It explains things, what's a there's a glossary. What's a professional development plan? What are competencies? If you're not familiar with the credentialing system, then some of those terms you might not be familiar with. So just looking at the guidebook will definitely kind of open those doors for you to just get a little bit more explanation. So the lattices in the early childhood credential, they're broken up into the family child care lattice, early childhood teacher lattice, early childhood master teacher, and early childhood administrator. And then there is the early childhood master professional with endorsements, and the infant and toddler credential, and that as well has endorsements. And I'll get further into the levels and the different endorsements and all that. So this would be the family child care lattice. I haven't actually credentialed too many family child care, but this would be the lattice that you used. I feel like most of you will probably be starting in this lattice, the early childhood teacher. It starts at, for education-wise, high school diploma with having 750 hours in the field. Then going all the way up to a minimum of a bachelor's degree in ECE or having a bachelor's degree and having 24 credits in early education, all the way up to 1,000 hours. And then if you find yourself having more experience in the field, as you can see in the master teacher lattice, if you look under work experience, that goes up to the 5-year mark. Education, starting with associates, going all the way up to masters. The next lattice is the early childhood administrator. So this lattice is more for the directors, co-directors, anyone that's in a leadership role. It starts off at a level 1 for work experience, 1 year in that supervisory role. And then you do need, this one is specific to the credits, 3 credits in childcare admin and having a minimum of an associate's, and then it does work its way up to a master's degree. Early childhood master professional. So this one doesn't necessarily go in, the order of level 1 to, 3 or level 1 to 4. This one is more, these ones kind of stand alone. So if we're individual mentor, I would say is probably more common in terms of needing the minimum for the education is an associate's degree, 5 years experience in the field with 2 of them in a classroom supervisory or leadership role. Some others might find themselves as a program consultant, which is a minimum of a bachelor's, 5 years in the field, 2 years in a program supervisory role. And so yeah, they're all kind of, these ones are a little bit more specific to each endorsement. And then here, this is the infant toddler endorsement. This one is specific to infant toddler. So that's 1, 2, 3, or I should say birth to 3 years old. And you do need hours in an infant or toddler classroom. And this one is some specific professional development. And I think I do want to just go back. I'll go back to this credential. For all the credentials, you do need, so there's the education, there's work experience, professional development, and professional development plan. And we'll get into each of those as we go on. So I think we were done with that. So the early Head Start option, this is for, if you can also just read it, but the following requirements are for the early Head Start, only for the infant and toddler credential endorsement. Early childhood professionals who qualify hold a teacher level 3 credential and the infant and toddler credential endorsement. So if you're in early Head Start and you have those requirements, and this would also be an option for you as well. And I can just pause. I know that was a lot to hear. Does anyone have any questions or anything like that? I can keep going if no one does. Okay, great. We'll just keep moving right along. Okay, so how do I apply? We're at this time, paper applications for both new and renewing applicants is the quickest way to get credentialed. New applicants so new applications only can apply on NHCIS at this time. And you can also use a paper application. If you're renewing, it is strictly a paper application because the system, NHCIS, cannot renew, it's still under construction. So we're working out a couple more glitches, but it is almost there. So how do I complete a new application? So you would fill out the application and you would gather supporting documents such as a current resume, documentation of employment, documentation of professional development hours, and your professional development plan with the correct number of competencies assigned to the level that you're applying for. Some require 3, some require 4, so it just depends on what you're going for. And then sending an official college transcript. You can send it electronically to my email, or you can get it mailed straight to my office in Concord. So this is an example. This is the paper application. This is blocking it, but I think it's 26 or yeah. So page 23, and this is inside of the guidebook. So that is the what we spoke about earlier in the presentation. So this is inside of that. And this is what the paper application looks like. If anyone has never seen one, you would check off what you're going for. So if you're going for early childhood teacher, you would just check off this. If you're also going for another credential, you would simply just check it off, and you would just fill in the rest of the information. This way I know what name to put on the credential and where to mail it to. So the first piece of documentation that you would submit is an updated resume, including current position, date of hire, past work experience, education, and some contact information. I get this question a lot. Does it have to be an updated resume? It does have to be an updated resume for a couple reasons. I feel like I totally have, in a good way, caught some things that maybe the applicant hasn't caught. There was someone who applied, I think, for early childhood teacher 6. And for that, you need 1,000 hours. But I saw on her resume that she had been in the field years, like probably, over 5 years. So I was able to look on her resume and say, if you can get me a work verification form, you're actually qualified to be a master teacher. So the updated resume is great. It kind of allows me to see maybe something you've missed or look a little bit deeper. So I always say, definitely update it for sure. So next is documentation of employment. This is we do have a template, and and if not, a lot of workplaces just have their own, and that is totally fine too. I do just ask if it is their own that they are including just the information that you see right here. Your name, your dates, position held, average hours per week, and the age range of children. I would say too, depending on which credential you're going for, let's just say you were going for early childhood administrator and you want that proof that you were in a director role, they will have to be specific into saying how long you've been in the director role. So just getting as specific as you can if you have switched roles throughout your employment. But yeah, this right here, it's pretty simple. I actually even, you can fill, I've heard this, I've had the employee actually fill it out and hand it to their director, and they kind of just look it over and sign it off. So that works too. Next piece of documentation is your professional development. So everyone here is already doing that for licensing. So for us, it's the same thing. It's the professional development. So where it might differ from licensing is if you're a new applicant, you need 18 hours upon your application date. So if you're applying today, February 8th, I think about that. If you're applying today, February 8th, you need 18 hours from February 8th, 2020 to February 8th, 2021. So you go back a year from today. So yes, you can print me your certificates, or you can print me training transcripts from NHCIS. Anything that is going to show me proof of your professional development. So new applications, 18, renewals are 54, because it'll be the, for the 3 years. And if you are applying for an infant and toddler endorsement, depending on which endorsement you're going for, you do need specific infant and toddler hours, anywhere from 6 to 12. And I do think I just want to say a little bit on that with the infant toddler specific hours, that is birth to 3 years old. I had someone recently, they submitted birth to 5. So we don't count that because it goes to 5. So it's very specific. So anything from birth to 3, infants, toddlers, that will totally work. The next piece of documentation that you'll submit is a professional development plan. And this is a planning tool for your professional growth. So you're pretty much in the first section, you're going to list the competency that you'll use. And that's in the next slide if you're not familiar with our competencies. And then you're going to say what the action step is for your professional growth, the resources you'll need, and your goal date. And depending on how many you need, whether it's 3 or if it's 4, you'll fill them in. And then at the bottom, you and your supervisor, or you and the person you're reviewing it with, will sign it at the bottom. So it's typically a director, the owner, a supervisor, a mentor, teacher, anyone that you're working with for your professional growth is the one that would sign it at the bottom. So the competencies we do have, so there's 3, and there's the infant and toddler, there's the preschool, and the early childhood workforce competency. So depending on where you are, if you're a preschool, I mean, you can use any of them. If you're a preschool teacher, you're probably gonna maybe lean more towards the preschool workforce. That one is, so you're gonna look through it. There's a, let me see, I think I have, yeah, here it. So you're gonna look through it. Inside of it, there's it's actually an example of the New Hampshire Preschool Workforce. You're gonna go through it and you're gonna do this, the competencies self-assessment. So this is gonna, show you, where maybe you can grow. And if you, see yourself on like, oh, wow, I'd actually really like to grow in this section. So then you're gonna go back and fill that in the competency section. I got this from the preschool workforce competencies, and this is somewhere where I'd like to grow. How can you grow? What steps are you taking to move in that, direction? So that's what the professional development plan is all about. And this is a question, if you're going for 2 different credentials, and let's say that the early childhood teacher is asking that you need 3 competencies, but you're also going for a master teacher and that needs 4, you don't need 7 competencies. You just take the highest amount of competencies that you need. So it's never going to exceed 4. So if you're going for master teacher, it says you need 4 competencies. That's how many you would do. We went over the competency documents, the self-assessment, and the only documentation I need is this. I do not need the self-assessment. That's something for you that you can reflect on and keep in your classroom, whatever is gonna kind of help you if you need to reflect on that at any point. The next piece of documentation needed is your transcripts. You can send that right here. This is where you would send it to if you wanted to mail the transcripts. And if not, they can go right to my email. And these both need to be sent from the college sealed. I have gone asked, I have official transcripts at my house, but they're open. Can I just mail them to you? Unfortunately, no, they have to be sealed right from the college. And, or if you have copies that are sealed, you're more than welcome. I've gotten that too. If they're sealed, you can mail them to me. But yes, so they do have to be official sealed transcripts.
I have a question really quick. If we're doing renewal, is that already on file or do we have to resend it in?
Great question. If you're renewal and you're within you're not expired, then you don't. We'll have your file still at the office. So you do not have to request transcripts. But if you are expired, I think I had someone 2019, their credential expired in 2019. Yes, that is something that you would need to request new ones, and it would be like a whole new application, all new documentation. But no, if you're just a renewal, you're all set with transcripts. Oh, and there we go. Hey. Are there any other questions?
Annie.
Yes.
What is the other benefit of doing a renewal and not allowing your credentials to expire?
I would say that the price, I think a renewal price is, I have to think off the top of my head, $10 a credential versus $25 a credential if it's expired. And then, and also other benefit is that I have all your information. You know, you're not requesting new transcripts. You're not really, if nothing's changed, you don't need to submit new work verifications. You're really just submitting an updated resume with your application.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
That was a good question. Mm-hmm. So to get into the renewal, how do I complete a renewal application? So you're gathering supporting documents, current resume, documentation of employment if something has changed. So like I had just mentioned, if nothing changed and you're really just renewing it, you don't have to submit new employment letters. Documentation of professional development is still needed. You'll do the 54 hours and then your professional development plan. Again, just, you know, what's going to happen, you know, what are you still working on? And only official transcripts if something has changed. If you went back to school or if you finished something or you took a couple more courses, then yes, I would need those, but not new ones. And then how do I submit my application? Both new and renewing. You'll get all your supporting documents that we talked about in a check payable to the treasurer, state of NH, and then you're mailing it to the address below. And then what happens after I submit? So the application is reviewed by the Bureau of Child Development and Head Start, and then then I review the application in the order in which I've received them. And then once I receive it, I will contact you by email. I would say by email. If I've sent a few emails and I'm like, oh, I haven't heard, then I usually will call. I do let you know if more information is needed or you missed something. And the credential is, and then when it's all said and done, the credential is awarded. And then you'll receive an email letting you know that of the status. And and it does take probably 2 to 3 months to be mailed, because once I make the certificate, I have to send it to 2 different places to get signatures. And and then I get them mailed to you. And then this is my contact information. This is my email, and the email, my mailing address is on the other screen, but and I can always put that in the chat if needed. And I think that's, yes. And then of course, NH Connections, that has everything on it. The, I don't know who's, hopefully you guys are familiar with the NH Connections page. If you're not, this is a great option for you. It has the guidebook link right here, a credential checklist, which is super helpful, a renewal checklist, there's some FAQs, a professional development plan template, the work verification template. Literally, I feel like anything you guys need is going to be all right here, and it's just a click away. This FAQ document is super helpful too. It just kind of goes into, you know, what should I do if my credential is expired? What if I cannot get a letter of verification? So this is actually a really good one to kind of talk about. What if I cannot get a letter of verification from an old employer? Will you accept any other proof? So this is definitely, I feel like, a tricky one. We also accept, I would feel like the only other thing is we do accept pay stubs, and I have had, of course, block anything out that you feel like, you know, I just really need to see that that's where you work from this point to this point. But other than that, we do need a, so the work experience verification or the pay stubs. How can I show college courses as professional development hours, and how many do they count for? So, that's a good one too. So if you're currently in an ECE course, that would count for some of your professional development. So if you've taken college courses within the last year, of your application date, you can send in an official transcript, and that will count as your professional development for new or renewing applications. And if you've taken classes within the past 3 years, if renewing, please send them in if they're not on file, and we can see if the courses can count towards the PD. And they do have to be ECE. I know this one's going to go into if it was like an English course or like a math. So it's going to be, you know, early education specific. These were like the prices of the credentials. The new credential is $25. Change of level is $10. A credential renewal is $10. Let's see, my institution sent me my college transcript to my email. Will you accept this? Right, so this has to be back to the official transcripts. They do have to be sent to my email. This way I can open them and I can kind of verify that they're, you know, from an official institution and all that.